The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
So much pain, life took us separate ways. Both did some hurtful things, but it's not over.
Hit the like button for us, please.
You know that we both care.
Shalom.
So can we forgive and forget? I need you here. Remember the ups and downs, the trials we've been through. See, there is no one on this earth who can replace you, my brother. Life is too short, don't hold no grudges. No grudges. You are my blood. We must forgive and love each other. No matter what life throws at us, we must keep brotherly love. Searched high and low, where did you go? Pick up your phone. Oh brother, do you hear me calling? See, I apologize. Hey. This bond will never die. Remember the ups and downs and trials we've been through. So I'll keep on darling. I'll go till I get through to you, brother. Life is too short, don't hold no grudges. No grudges, brother. We must forgive and love each other. No matter what life throws at us, we must, hey, we must keep brothers, not enemies. Let's come together for the family. Let's walk as one, forgive and let it go. We need to let it go. love you, brother.
Is it still doing it?
It's still jumping.
Yeah, it could be the camera. Hold on 1 second, brother. Hold on 1 second. One moment. Still doing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It could be the connection. One moment. One moment. We're having technical issues. One moment. Video off for a second. Yeah. You did?
Yes, sir.
One moment. One moment, brothers and sisters. We'll be right with you. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. We're coming right back with you. All right, all right, all right. Make sure you can all see and hear us clearly before the class begins. Yes? Yes? All right, all right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Ricard of the Gathering of Christ Church here, along with Elder Lawyer, with a very, I would say, sombering but uplifting understanding of life and death according to the Bible, right? Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button, please. In the midst of everything that's been going on for the last couple of years, few years, with so many of us losing our loved ones, and to some degree, untimely, unexplainable deaths, it leads to us, those here on earth, God's people, those who believe, it leads us to seek for answers to why. Why there's untimely death without explanation? Why must the Most High take our loved ones? What happens if one day our number is called? How should we, or how do we want to be remembered? Well, I'm going to go into a class today to show the victory that comes through life and death. The reality of the matter, brothers and sisters, that this space and time, this life, we're passing through. This is actually a challenge. We're born into a challenge called life to achieve a victory which is everlasting. The reality of the matter, death was actually created, so to speak, out of disobedience. It wasn't meant for us to die. And I'm saying this in the midst of, brothers and sisters, of course, there's been a great passing of a brother whom we're going to lay down. And when we lay him down, it's going to be a what? It's going to be a send-off worthy of a king, worthy of a servant. And it's time to go into the scriptures to get some level of resolve, some understanding, some healing when it comes, what? To times just like this. When we're caught off guard, when something comes out of nowhere, unexplainable, yet we seek for answers to why. Well, I'm going to need you all to open up your Bible. Victory through life and death. First of all, we have to also understand, brothers and sisters, that what? In life, there's purpose. There's no greater victory in life than to have fulfilled your purpose while living, and the expectation that God had of you and from you. Okay, listen to me clearly, folks. Christ only lived into his mid-30s. He was never forgotten. He lives on. His small little window of a ministry changed the world And I'm talking about a man who didn't see the ripe age of 40, lived out his purpose, and the world still cannot stop talking about him. Think about that. I need y'all to think about that. Some of us go our whole lives and don't even find a purpose for ourselves till after 40. Folks, life is just a shadow. Life is just a shadow. It's what you do with it. Purpose. Now, I was going to talk about what was going on with the brother Kanye, who wished to be called Ye, this week. Because why? It's on everyone's tongue. Everyone is talking about it. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't have to tell you all this, on another note, the brother's life is in danger. And he understands it. So he's using his celebrity publicly to defend himself. But at the same time, that's right, he's being used to tell the people everything. You can think he's crazy. And I was going to talk about that this week. Someone who's willing to stand in total courage for his people, knowing the consequences is death. You can say whatever you want about the brother, his choices in life, who he chose to be with, or whatever the case is. But guess what? Believers know when you find and see another believer who understands that the victory is in life, with no fear of death, knowing what? You'll return. You can say what you want about Tupac, Biggie. You can say anything you want about anyone who have seen the inner workings on the dark side of the industry. But they will not be remembered like him. In his short span of life, he was able to take his celebrity and platform and proclaim to the world that you cannot call him an anti-Semite. He's Semite. We are the children of Israel. Those were his words. It's one thing, folks, to be sent in this earth to do art and to bring forth what? All of the talent that's within you. It's another thing to proclaim that you are the child of God and to use your platform to bring again the captivity of our people and proclaim that you are a servant here to bring back the lost tribes of Israel. So I'm not going to touch on him today. I was, but something happened. There was an untimely loss within the church from a brother who's a pillar, who's been with this truth from the beginning. From the time I stepped down in the UK, the twins were there. So I had to take priority and say, hey, let's talk about our brother who's in the church, who's baptized, who before he passed, he was out doing the ministry before Christ, his purpose before the Most High took him. And I'm going to tell you, the brother's okay. It's us who's mourning, but he's okay, folks. Because where he is, I'm going to tell you right now, he's outside of time and space. Time has no power on the other side. He'll be back in a twinkling of an eye. When he come back, it's going to be just like he just closed his eyes. Stronger, in a glorified position with a glorified body, the body that was intended before death came into the world. So if any people we need to mourn is the people who don't understand their purpose, or when they were faced with the purpose, They groveled. They bent the knee. They turned their back in fear of what could happen to them, in fear of death. Folks, death is temporal. We were here before birth and will continue in life after this. And that's one thing Kanye understands. And it's deeper than Kanye West. You have to understand when the Most High is using a man to proclaim something. Everyone in Egypt thought Moses was insane. Not, folks, not just Egyptians. Everyone thought that Moses was insane. His celebrity was above all Hebrews in the earth. When you read the book of YASHAYA, when you read Jubilees, when you read the Torah, Moses had it made as the prince of Egypt and could live out his life lavishly anywhere in the earth, but chose to suffer with his people. Many Egyptian counselors came to Moses. Even when he returned, like, Moses. He's like, listen, I'm on the other side now. How can I glory while my people suffer? Now, I'm not comparing Kanye to Moses. I'm giving you an example of a man being called crazy with a purpose. When one realized that he's glorying in a den of wolves, in a den of thieves while his people are suffering. And any opportunity while the mic is hot, he's going to tell our people, I'm still for you. I'm still on your side, even if it's unto death. And I'm going to tell you right now, in the midst of all this, before I go into these scriptures, guess what, folks? Outright in the media right now, we're witnessing who the real thugs are. We're witnessing the real thugs. The real thugs aren't the ones all hard that's going to go hard on their own people to show how tough they are. The real thugs will speak to you behind the door and say, I need you to go publicly and apologize and bend the knee, thug, for you interviewing your own brother who's speaking truth. Those are the real thugs that'll have you groveling and apologizing for what? For using your platform to bring forth the light for God's people and being courageous enough to do so. Being able to go down with your brother if necessary. Our people are only thugs when it comes to what they're doing to their own. Mm-hmm. That's when you become tough. That's when you become thugs. You're only allowed to flex your power and your authority and your thugism, if that's a word, within the boundaries of destroying your own. But I'm going to leave that for next week. How do we get victory through life and death? First of all, one must understand exactly what is death. Elder Lawyer, let's go to Genesis 3 real quick. When did death come into the world?
Yes, sir.
Let's go straight to the point.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis chapter 3, verse number 17. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it.
The tree of good and evil was the first drug. That was the drug to open up the quote unquote chakra. To understand good and evil, to get knowledge beyond the everyday person. But it comes with a price. And the price is you give over your soul, your being, to the entity that gives information. See, and this is why I love getting my information directly from the source, God, the Bible, the Word, because it doesn't come with a cost. The cost of sacrificing your life and giving your life to the angel of death, Satan himself. He's the angel of death, folks. So yes, the knowledge was good. Adam and Eve was able to understand everything, but it came with them subjecting themselves to a lower being. Death was made for those who disobeyed God from the beginning. The fallen gods. Death wasn't made for us, folks. The first drug was what? You got it, folks. The tree of good and evil. It's how Satan, the angel of death, controlled the population of the world. You must eat of his fruit. You must eat from his table so that he'll have something in you. It comes with a feel good, a temporary high. It comes with ideas. It comes with artistry, understanding what most cannot understand. But these fallen gods, that's right, folks, know that death is at the end of it because what? They were told what would happen to them at the end of this before the victory is won. And I'm talking about before earth. Y'all better wake up, brothers and sisters. I'm talking before earth. Death was decreed by the fallen ones, the sons of God who came to this realm, only to put their judgment on us. There's two separate types of deaths, and I'm going to cover those today. You got the regular death when you go to the grave, and I'll show you what happens there. And then we have what the Bible calls the second death. Now, the second death, the God of this world has no power over. The second death was decreed before the first. And I'm going to show you. Victory through life and death. See, you can stand courageous against all odds and stand in the truth, knowing that you have an army, a celestial army protecting you, with no fear of what may happen to you. And even if you die, you'll be remembered. And your death will only call more people to the knowledge of the Most High to join his army. This is why the enemy fears coming against or martyrdom. Should we have to just deal with this one person and discredit him publicly? Or do we kill him and make him a martyr, where now the world seek to become what he was? This is why the enemy hates making martyrs, because there's more than one to contend with afterward. Look at what came out of Christ. They would have very well left him alone so it could be one man and just going around proselytizing a few people at a time. They would have very well allowed him to die, living out his whole life at an old age, than to have victory after death that would move the earth and shake the earth to believe in the first begotten of the Son till this day. And it's not just Israelites who believe in him. That short ministry, even the Gentiles are losing footing. white people, Asian people, Hamite people, they've all come to the knowledge, or that's right, the knowledge of Christ. And this is what the enemy knows. So they'll look at someone and say, why don't we just kill him? But then they'll talk amongst each other and say, well, if we kill him, we're going to have to contend with thousands more who will now magnify that one individual's life and seek to be like him. Let's discredit him. Let's call him crazy. Let's call him this. Let's call him that. But martyrdom is a victory. You have to realize when death is a victory. What was death? Let's read it again. Hit the like button, folks.
Yes, sir. Genesis 3:17. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground.
Until you return unto the ground.
For out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto the dust shalt thou return.
And unto the dust thou shalt return. So this is when death was decreed. Job 9:24 tells us, at that point, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. The whole earth and all of its creation will suffer under the guidance and power of what? The devil. Now death is coming to the world. Now man must find his way back to what? Life. It wasn't meant for us to die, folks. It wasn't meant for us to die. That was a disobedient spirit through our mother and father that caused something new to actually culminate within this realm. Something that didn't exist in the heavens. Celestial is everlasting. That's what Adam and Eve would have become if they would have partaken of the fruit of what? The tree of life. They would have lived forever. Folks, the tree of life exists. It's what the Gentile pagans frame or coin as the fountain of youth. It exists. Let's go and show you where the angels would protect the tree of life. Let's read it real quick.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis 3:22.
Yep.
And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil.
To know good and evil. He can't. Adam and Eve learned information. And the information was pre-earth. They understood the good, the evil, the revolt in heaven, the fall of the gods who were amongst mankind, who lived amongst them. They were on earth before Adam and Eve. So when Adam and Eve partook of those fruits, they went into understanding. Their eyes were open and they were taught everything. But with the information comes a cost. It comes a cost. That's right, folks. High education, you name it, they knew it. And even on how to sustain life. The gods taught everything, folks. The anatomy of man, the future, the past, what happened in heaven. So what happens if Adam and Eve has this information and go over and run over and eat that tree, the tree of life? They would totally do what? They would totally derail prophecy. It wasn't meant for them to get the information that way. Life experience was supposed to teach them. It was life experience that was supposed to teach them. So what did God say? Let's go. What did the Most High, what is the punishment now for listening to the lower ones? And that's exactly who they are. The lower ones who rule this earth. Read.
Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life.
The tree of life.
And eat and live forever.
And live forever. So from the beginning in this Bible, folks, from the beginning, that's right, folks, the tree of life was presented as a what? As a tree for immortality before we get into the other stories of the prophets and others. Life everlasting was promised from the beginning, and that's why they don't want you in this Bible, folks. How do the devil get the earth, overpopulated earth as they claim, billions of people, upward 7 billion, under subjection? The fear of death and sicknesses. It's a form of control. If someone is sick, then they fear death. And through that, they're willing to do anything the devil say to live. See? Hence the pharmaceutical apparatus. But what if you've known from the beginning that there's life eternal? You'll look at it all differently. You wouldn't go for the Jedi mind trick. Oh yeah, take this to live, and then 3 weeks later, after listening, or a month later after listening to them, guess what? You're being put in the ground anyway. We give mankind more credit instead of going the long way like Adam and Eve should have, and get access to life everlasting. If you know that exists, you fear nothing. You don't fear what the enemy can do to you. You don't fear what's on the other side because you know what's on the other side. And while you're here with no fear, now you're able to do your purpose for God. You must first understand, that's right, folks, what's on the other side of you after this life to know what to do within this life. You must know the reward on the other side. You must understand, folks, that after you leave here, your conscience is 100% alive. It was 100% alive before the Most High sent you here. Life didn't start here, brothers and sisters. We're here. We're living in this life to do our purpose that would lead to everlasting life and the victory that'll be shown, that's right, over death. Death is just a stage. Birth was only a stage, folks. Come on.
23. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword, which turned on every side to keep the way of the tree of life.
To keep the way of the tree of life. And it's right there in the earth till this day at the Gulf of Aden. Right on the outside of Somalia. But it's hid from mankind. It's right there. The Most High have angels like a portal cloaking it. Only the celestial, which are angels, can walk on the other side of the angels to see the tree that was there since the beginning. It's there. And then it tells us in Enoch that guess what? It was placed in the third heaven. There's really 12 separate levels of realms. And what happens when Christ returns? The angel sword will stop. And you'll see the tree exactly in the place it was, brothers and sisters, when Adam and Eve was actually told to leave the garden. It's an exact same place. And once mortal people who have overcome this world and the war, once we get access to that, our bodies live forever. No prescriptions, no side effects, no nothing. Your bodies change. What's in that tree of life, brothers and sisters? Let's talk about it. The Most High hid it from the beginning, folks. He hid this tree of life from the beginning. It's in the book of Genesis. Well, the devil know that man feared death. So the mystery is what's on the other side. Now the devil and his agents will use that as a form of control. Well, because they don't know what's over there, let's use the fear of death to put them under subjection. Now they can become our servants in fear of what we'll do to them. Well, do to them? Well, if we kill them, let's kill them. They're like, no, we can't kill them because what happens is they find out that there's really no death. We must use the fear of death so that we can utilize their bodies like batteries. We can control them in the earth now with the fear of death. The fear of death does what? Elder Lawyer, let's go to Hebrews 2, and then let's show the tree of life real quick.
Yes, sir. Also, a quick precept.
Go on.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 23 through 24.
Folks, we about hit the like button for us, folks. It doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button. Come on now. Other people, you know we're shadow banned. We're about to go in today. Help us. Others need to hear this. Okay? Everyone just hit the like button for us real quick. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 23. For God created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity.
Read that again.
For God created man to be immortal.
He created us to be immortal, folks. Read.
And made him to be an image of his own eternity.
And made us to be an image of his own eternity. Come on.
Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it.
And they who hold to the devil, fear the devil, and work for the devil, finds the death that came with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
The devil can control people by threatening them. Well, if you know of Christ and life everlasting, guess what? You have taken Satan's greatest tool in this earth against you away. Right? Fear no man. It's the Most High that brings forth, eventually, will allow life or death. Fear the Most High only. Be courageous. Don't grovel. Don't apologize. Don't fear. Be courageous. What is the tree of life? It was there since the beginning. Before we get that, Elder Lloyd, let's get Hebrews.
Hebrews 2 and 14.
Come on.
For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same.
Speaking of Christ.
That through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is, the devil.
That is the devil. Now, how does the devil have the power of death? He's a death angel. How does he control the power of death? Well, through the Wizard of Oz, through his psychology, he would make people believe that there's no understanding of what happens after this. See, he don't teach life everlasting. He teach false ideology through the Babylonian scripts and the Babylonian religions. Oh, don't worry about it. Do what you want to do in this life, and you'll be reincarnated, and you'll come back to get another chance. Straight garbage. Another lie that came from Babylon. You get one shot at this. Or, well, no one really knows what happens. You go back to the grave and it's like you're sleeping. Another lie. Another lie. You are fully alive. Your conscience is fully alive before birth and after death. And I'm going to prove it. So, but they use the fear of death because they don't tell people what the ancients always knew. That there's a place for judgment at the end of this. For those who did right in this life and for those who disobeyed their conscience. Satan always knew this because the Most High revealed hell to him in the judgment when he was hurled as Lucifer. He always knew what happens when we pass from life to death. Even, guess what? Even under the religion of Judaism, they teach about life and death. All of that. They know that at the end of this life, you go somewhere. It's taught within Judaism. But they don't publish this through the media. It's taught. See, they'll push that atheist crap in the public because they want us to cleave on to it. They want the world to cleave on into it. They'll speak this atheist. Well, no one knows. It's the universe. We don't know. They'll allow the world to speculate and philosophize what happens when our spirit passes over. But they know. They're only atheists when the camera's on. They're working for a team on either side when the cameras are off. Luring people into their own demise through the fear of death. I'm going to show you how. Matter of fact, read that real quick, Elder. I'm going to give you an example.
Yes, sir. Verse 15. And deliver them who through fear of death.
And deliver them who what?
Through fear of death.
Now, let me give you an example of someone that has a fear of death, or how the industrial corporations push the fear of death. Every other commercial that we see right now on TV is cancer survivors. Put on your pink ribbon. Oh, there's a sickness here or a sickness there. And if you don't do this, you're going to die. A constant reminder of our mortality. Folks, let me tell you, in the fear of death, that's a mind job on the population. Sicknesses used to be something private amongst family. That the family would be able to explain, well, this is what happened to this family member, and this is what happened. Why are they making death and sickness so public, so normal? This is what happens when they begin to deal with a population they can no longer control. Fear of death and sicknesses. When you're not thinking about normal things that families should be thinking about. Getting together, doing business, following the Most High, right? Following the law, setting up generational wealth for our families to come. You can't think about, only thing you can think about every day. Not a day go by where we in the earth don't talk about sickness. And folks, that's intentional. Because somebody somewhere is going to become afraid to die. And now when you are afraid to die, you're easily controlled. Well, you better take this. You better do that. Did you get yours yet? Did you get more than one yet? And you will have so-called believers pushing Satan's corporate agendas. You better do this, man. Hey, he was sick for 7 days. Oh, I had it too. Did you have it? I had it. These are not believers. That's why I don't even want to hear that crap when people talk about it. Don't you know when you frame your mind to believe what they're saying, you're subjected to the God of this world? That's a form of unbelief. I don't believe none of their crap. And guess what? It's not because some of the diseases doesn't exist. I understand what they're doing. The psyop. I understand the psychological job they're putting on people to control them. Read that again.
Hebrews 2:15. And delivered them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
Through their whole life, they were subject to bondage. Now, give me an example. Here's an example of being subjected to bondage. You're making decisions not strictly on ideas to go out courageously to achieve and to succeed. You're making plans under the spirit of fear first. See? That gives other people an advantage. You're actually making all your plans in the future. It starts off with, well, what about this obstacle? What if that happens? Then I'm not going to be able to do this because they may do this. When other races of people don't operate like that. They don't operate with fear in the forefront first of how they can't achieve something. And that bondage is not what the other races are putting on us. That bondage is placed on that we actually put on ourselves by not understanding or truly believing in our capabilities. We're capable of anything. But if they put in a mechanism of fear, we'll be hesitant to do something and fear of failing while the other people just run right by us and get it. See? The fear of death puts us in subjection. Where we do what? We with ourselves. We put ourselves in a box through fear. Well, you can't do that. Why? Well, that's for white people. Only white people can do that. And guess what? They never told you that. It was a psychological job that been put out there that make you believe that they can achieve something you can't. They were born into this earth and were children just like us and came through life just like us. And the only difference is what? What they were told and what we were told. Psychology, folks, is what put us in bondage. Now we're breaking free. The fear of what, Elder Lawyer?
Who through the fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
All the lifetime we were told what we couldn't do. Made all of our decisions based on fear. Oh yeah, you better go get that education. You better go get that. Suppose he's not there for you. You can't trust no man. You better go get that education. You can't depend on your own. And you're making all of these moves based on fears that someone instilled in you. And I'm not saying education is wrong, but it shouldn't be pushed in the spirit of fear. Because you're getting it for the wrong reasons. That's a trade-off. You don't trade family for education. I can always do this later. Well, no, that's the optimal time of your life where you can get a high earner. Why sacrifice that between four walls, reading books and passing tests? Only to say, well, I'm a great test taker. When you're foregone, that's right, the most optimal time of your life, that's right, outside of the real test, life, family. They use fear. Well, you can't do this, man, because you black. How many times they probably told Kanye, brother, we know what you saying is true, but man, you better not say that publicly. You think Kanye is the only one talking about all of this? Before he went to Nori, they did the whole interview with LeBron James and all that now cannot be published. And guess what? It's documented what he said. It's no different than what he said under Nori. And how many of those guys sitting there in the Bible on YouTube, looking at us, looking at others, seeing what's going on and knowing who the enemies are, and are saying to Kanye, you better not say that. They're going to come after your head. Oh, like they came after Christ's head? And what good did that do them? Christ multiplied. The fear of death. Read.
Yes, sir. And delivered them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
Subject to bondage. Our people are taught from the grave, coming up, what not to do. What's impossible for us. That satanic slave programming that happened, coming out of chattel slavery. Imagine if you are a strong man with much understanding or much potential, but you went your whole life with everyone who trusted or you respected telling you, restricting what you could or could not do. Or you better not do that. You better not do that. When it comes to what? Achieving something that's legal, that can be respected. But it's very seldom that we're being told in the neighborhood, well, you better not smoke marijuana. You better not sell drugs. That's the vehicle in our neighborhoods that we will allow to operate and decimate us internally, because that's where we are allowed. We are allowed to destroy and kill ourselves. See? And why are the young people doing it? Because when they think above the streets and above all that, they're being told by their so-called elders, it isn't possible. Well, you can't do that. Only white people do that. You can't even speak in a respectful manner grammatically without somebody looking at you and saying, you speaking like a white man. You talking white. What the Hades is that? What is that? Well, you can't even speak articulate without someone believing that the only articulate people can speak are white people. That's crazy. It's insane, folks. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Revelation 22:1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal.
Yep.
Proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb.
Come on.
And in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life.
The tree of life.
Which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month.
So the tree of life, that tree that was in the garden since the beginning, is getting described now. There's 12 manner of fruit that yield forth this fruit once a month. And you got some crazies out there talking about it's the horoscope. What? Oh yeah, don't you get a new sign each month? Simple as the days old. This has nothing to do with no stinking horoscope. The horoscopes is a part of sorcery, witchcraft. And yes, is there something to it? Absolutely. But it's part of the knowledge that came with the tree of good and evil. There's 12 portals around the earth where it depends on the time, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12. It depends on the time you come into the earth based on one of those months, 1 through 12. And there's an angel which opens a portal when the spirit is sent from the heavens into the earthy realm. See? There's 12 separate portals where angels are over. And when mama and daddy get together and bring forth a little pregnancy there, a spirit comes through one of those doors. But guess what? The lower spirits who has fallen knew this. So they turned it into 12 planets. Knowing that when you come through what? When you come through each one, there's a certain behavior or tendency depending on the what? The portal you came through in the earth. Well, mankind wasn't supposed to use this as a form of psychology to figure out people that way. You can manipulate people that way. If they came through door 1, usually they're subtle. They like this. If they come to door 2, usually they're more aggressive. They like that. But guess what? The tree of good and evil, that's right. Satan wanted people to understand the behavior or the patterns of others, not to benefit the people, but as a form of control. You're not supposed to deal with that. That's what the Bible calls, we were warned in the Bible, involuntary worshiping of angels. It's talking about the angels that are over the portals from when we come into the earth. That's the introduction or the beginning of horoscope. There is no stinking planets. These are angels. Let's read it.
Revelation 22:2. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life.
The tree, there's an actual tree. Read.
Which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations.
And the what? The what? The leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. So guess what? Even the Gentiles who are under Christ during the 1,000-year reign, guess what? They'll come up once a year and partake of that fruit off of the tree. And guess what? No sicknesses, no nothing can harm the body for a full year. They're totally healed. Totally healed and cannot be subjected to sickness or death with one leaf off of the tree of life. And that's why Adam and Eve were placed on the outside of it. That's why the angels are protected until this day. One leaf, that you don't need no prescription. You don't need none of that. One leaf, you're healed and your whole body is strengthened like it was from the time you ate the last leaf a year before. See, we know what life everlasting is. We know exactly where the tree is. And one day it will be revealed again. So the devil used death. Oh yeah, let's fight cancer. Cancer. Yeah, let's fight this. Or let's push this in you. Let's shoot that in you. Let's fight this. Let's come on and fight it. Let me get it up in you. See? But we like, listen, we cool. We okay. We know a lot of your stuff you have out there are for fools, unbelievers, those without faith. We're seeking life everlasting. We're seeking the real medicine that came from the earth, beginning with the tree of life. And guess what? Some of us must go through death to get it. And I'm going to show you, folks, and only to live again. Only to live again. Y'all want to talk about victory through life? Those who believe know that this tree exists. Even the pagans knew this exists. They just called it the fountain of youth because there's water that flows out that waters the tree continually in the third heaven. That's what the pagans wanted access to, called the tree of the fountain of youth. But it's really the tree that the fountain is watering. The tree of life. I know we dropping some bombs on y'all today. This is a real Bible breakdown here today. Right? Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Let's go through it now. Let's go to Psalms 22, 9 and 10.
Psalms 22, verse number 9. But thou art he that took me out of the womb. Thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mother's breast.
So he took us out of the womb and made us hope upon our mother's breast. Read.
I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mother's belly.
Thou wert my God from my mother's belly. I don't care what religion you following in the earth today, Jew or Gentile. Whether you East Indian, whether you are an Israelite who came in a cargo slave ship and are called African American, you're really an Israelite. It doesn't matter if you're a Latina who think you are Latina, you are an Israelite. It doesn't matter if you are a white man. It doesn't matter if you're Asian. One God sent us here.
That's right.
You weren't sent by a God under your quote unquote religion. Our God sent you here, the God of the Hebrews. It wasn't no Hindu God. Buddha and Allah didn't send you anywhere. It was the God of the Hebrews who allowed what? That's right, your spirit to leave the spiritual realm to come into this one. You learned religion. You were raised under religion. Your parents taught you of religion. But it was our God who sent you here. See, I'm not going to use the terms wholesale like they do to actually deceive people in the earth and call you after your Gentile names. Call you after these new names that have no significance. There's no such thing as Asians in the Bible. You're Japheth. You're Japhetic. That's who God called you. That's who Noah called you Asians. Japheth. You're either from Ham, Shem, or Japheth. And tomorrow, guess what? I'm going in. I'm going into the hate religion that started switching names around to purposely deceive our people into making us call ourselves black and African American and all this other crap. That's right, color in the Bible. The truth of our time in Egypt tomorrow in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. That's another trick thing they're doing, giving us all these different names, not realizing prophetically the importance of who races of people are in this earth. If you don't know who you are according to the word of God, you don't know where you fit prophetically in the grand scheme of things. Let's read it. Come on. Read that past. What verse, Elder Lawyer?
Psalms 22, verses 9 through 10.
Come on.
But thou art he that took me out of my mother, or out of the womb. Thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mother's breast.
Come on.
I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mother's belly.
From my mother's belly, we belong to the Most High. It wasn't about religion. It wasn't about the socio-political landscape. We were sent into our mother's womb, right? Elder Lawyer, now let's get Job 10 and 9. Victory through life and death is the topic today. Thank you all for being a part of this Sabbath service. Share it, like it, make sure your family see it. Let's go to the book of Job, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Job Let's get it here. Job 9 and 10, Elder Lawyer.
9 and 10.
Job, the 10th chapter. I'm sorry, the 10th chapter and the 9th verse. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Job 10 and 9.
Yeah.
Remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt thou bring me into the dust again?
Remember, I beg thee, that thou hast made me as the clay. Adam was shaped out of the dust of the ground from the beginning. The Holy Spirit, the Ruach, which is really the mother spirit, breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. Remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and will bring me into the dust again. And some people would say, well, hold up, Holy Spirit and feminine or mother, just brothers and sisters, it's common sense. Break it down, okay? When you look at the word breath in the Hebrew that went into Adam, it's a feminine word. The Hebrew is masculine and feminine. Okay? There is no intersectional confusion there. The Most High made male and female, and I don't care what they say in this earth politically. Those are the only two genders that exist. Because what? Man was made after the image of God. Male and female made he them. Well, what's the female in heaven? The Holy Spirit. When you look into John, when it says he, when Christ says, I must go, or he cannot come, that he in the original Greek wasn't there. He and she in the New Testament, under those particular precepts, are interchangeable. It's not he or she when it comes to the Holy Spirit in John. It's a kenos, which means Christ says that one. That one didn't denote male or female. They translated he there so that our people could ignorantly follow three separate pagan deities as the Trinity. That's right. Zeus, Jupiter, and Poseidon. You were bamboozled. Okay? The breath or the Ruach is the mother's spirit. There was three that bear record in heaven. The Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, the first family. And all things in the earth, male and female, come together to bring forth life like it was in the beginning. There was no man next to the Most High or no male spirit next to him. What type of perversion are y'all dealing with? Wake up. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Job 10 verse 9. Remember, I beseech thee, that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt thou bring me again into the dust again?
Will thy bring me into the dust again? Come on.
Hast thou not poured me out as milk, and curdled me like cheese?
Have you not poured me out like milk? You know, when you pour out milk, and then guess what? Cheese begins to curdle. It starts to form. This is what happened to what? This is what happened to us in our mother's womb. We were poured out like milk, and then we begin to take shape. Mm-hmm. What the enemy calls a fetus.
That's right.
That's getting targeted like it was getting targeted during our times in Egypt. Specifically looking to target the male child who would bring forth the prophets. So the Most High poured us out like milk, and we started to shape in our mother's womb and take shape and curdle. Right? Mm-hmm. Like cheese, come on.
Verse 11. Thou hast clothed me with skin and flesh.
And then the Most High began to what? Clothe us in our mother's womb with skin, flesh. Right? Read.
And hast fenced me with bones and sinews.
Come on. And then we started to grow with bones all in our mother's womb. Now, if we're twins, that's right. What happens is that sperma or sperm cell in the mother's, when it in the woman's belly, it splits. And guess what? Two begin to develop in the mother's womb, like Jacob and Esau. So I need y'all to visualize this. The Most High, the father and mother comes together, and the Most High sends forth a spirit like milk and start to move in the mother's womb, and then it start to take shape. They call it a fetus. That's garbage. That's a person. Well, and psychologists got together and say, well, if we call it a baby, then those who believe are going to have a conscience against this and push back. So we got to use certain words they're not familiar with. There's no one in the black neighborhood know what a stinking fetus is. We know what a baby is, though. Using trick words. Oh, yeah. Well, it's not a baby. Actually, it's a fetus. How many of you in this earth wasn't a quote-unquote fetus first? Get out of our face. That's a baby. So we're breaking down the Bible science on this. Let's read it.
12. Thou hast granted me life and favor, and thy visitation hath preserved my spirit.
And it says, thou hast granted me life. That means to have life is a privilege. Not to be squandered. Not to be unappreciated. Life is a privilege. That's what our God did for us. And what do we do for him in return? He gave us life. He gave us privilege. And favor, read.
Thou hast granted me life and favor, and thy visitation hath preserved my spirit.
And thy visitation have preserved my spirit. Thy visitation. We're constantly reminded by the Most High of life, purpose. And now we're taking this spirit that came from the beginning and we're protecting it with care, understanding that we're here for what? God's purpose. And I'm going to say this. I don't want to talk about Kanye West too much in this. I'm going to tell you what. In the heavens, guess what? Kanye West will not be remembered as a record producer, as a fashion mogul. But what's coming out of his mouth right now, he'll be remembered. Let me tell you, folks, you know a true believer when they'll put everything on the line. It's easy to talk junk when you don't have nothing to lose. That's when it's talking junk. But what if a man have everything to lose and is willing to put that on the line for his people? Okay? He will not be recognized in the heavens for how much Yeezys cost. But what's coming out of his mouth will and is getting remembered. Let's read. Come on, verse.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. In these things hast thou hid in thine heart. I know that this is with thee. If I sin...
But he says, listen, you've given me life, which was what? Which was a privilege. Mm-hmm. But then it says, but if I sin, read.
Then thou markest me.
Then in the heavens, the Most High mark you. He mark you in the heavens. The angels, because what? No one can escape the angel of the presence, who's there to protect you. Even when you're doing wrong, the angel must report. You're doing right, he must report. Every person sent in the earth has an angel of the presence. If you sin, that's marked in heaven. Now, eventually, it depends on how many marks you get. Every person, especially those of Israel, is written in the book of life before your spirit is sent into your mother's womb. Every person in life from the beginning was written in a book and was sent into their mother. But as you sin, it tell you, don't let your name get blotted out. As you sin in the earth with marks against God's law, your name begins to fade in the heaven, in that book. So it's not God taking us out of the book. It's our actions on earth. And it's up to us whether or not our name is seen when the book is opened at the final judgment. It's not up to the Most High on that. It's up to us because our name was there before he sent us. Life brightens that name or darkens that name. And I'm using Kanye West as an example. Just today, his name, whatever it was going to be in the heavens, and all of us, we had a name in the book, and it's sent because what? All is written in the heavenly tables. Every person, every man, woman, and child that have ever entered this earth and are living today was written before we came here. And it's up to us whether our name resonates and stands out amongst the rest, above the rest, like Christ's name, or fade away and never remembered. It's up to each individual. And that's why it says, be careful, lest your name be blotted out. Lest your name be blotted out of the book. What does it mean by that? Blotted out means what? That's right. It was originally there and got erased through our actions. Right? Read it, 14.
Yes, sir. Verse 14. If I sin, then thou markest me, and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity.
And thou wilt not acquit me from my iniquity. Just because we did something wrong, don't think that the Most High is just going to say, you know what? I acquit you of that. That's right. It's up to that individual to admit they're wrong. Rebuke. And if thou repent, forgive. And when the forgiveness stage begins, when we understand we did wrong against God and we fall before him, then what? That's right. Then the reconciliation between us and him begins. But it's a process. He don't just automatically say, okay, you did this and I'm going to excuse you. It's that individual coming to the knowledge of what they did wrong and make amends and show a public amendment for that. Not, no, I'm sorry. No, it's an action that shows amendment. Or, well, I sinned because of that. Or we can't give God an excuse. Okay? That works with man. Well, I wouldn't have done it if this wouldn't have happened. Guess what? Deceiver. It comes down to saying, you know what? I did that wrong. And by admitting that without any outside influence or anything, it's just saying I'm doing it because I wanted to do it. That's when the forgiveness, the true, honest forgiveness begins. Read on.
15. If I be wicked.
If I be wicked.
Woe unto me.
Woe unto me.
And if I be righteous.
But if I'm righteous.
Yet will I not lift up my head.
Yet I will not lift up my head. I'll still humble myself. Even if I'm doing the right thing, I'm in constant reminder of the evil things that I've done. So I still can't puff myself up as anything beyond a servant. Read.
I am full of confusion.
I am full of confusion.
Therefore see thou mine affliction.
Therefore see thine affliction. And that's the confusion that goes on in the world. I'm confused, and the world is confused with this. Who can make a resolve of it all? The Most High is with me if I do this. He's against me if I do that. But even if I'm doing right, I have to be careful with the evil thoughts. I can still be wrong thinking I'm right. What am I to do to this? How can I resolve this? You know how? The Most High knew it would confuse man, life, and death So he sent Christ. He sent the Son as a walking example of how to operate on earth to do what? To do away with the confusion. To do away with the confusion. Ecclesiastes 12 and 7, Elder Lloyd. Ecclesiastes in the Bible. 12 and 7. Because you can be right, but then you're operating in righteousness without humility. And people can say what they want to say about Malcolm X, about Martin Luther King. When you operate in wisdom and read these scriptures, you'll understand men that were sent by the Almighty. Okay? You can say what you want. There's a reason why they followed Malcolm all over the place, over into Mecca, he went into Mecca and all that and realized, man, what they selling us here in America is a bowl of crap. I'm sitting there drinking in a cistern and washing right next to a white man, right next to an Arab man. And he told me over there that Islam was a black man's religion. He was on a journey and was able to articulate his journey. But what was never lost in Malcolm's journey was the love for his family and his people. The world was fascinated with it. All due respect to Elijah Muhammad, the world wasn't fascinated with him. The world was fascinated because Elijah Muhammad was in a position of the political game of religion. He was into the politics of it. All due respect to him. But Malcolm was like, Hades, go to Hades with your politics. The cock have come home to roost. I'm here for my people first, politics later. See? And he was able to do it, though, continually in public, in the spirit of humility. Folks, you're talking about a man that can beat the enemy at his own game. The only people could have destroyed him or take him down, was his own. Because the enemy would love to humiliate you and take you down publicly. That's how they do it and discredit you. They didn't want to make him a martyr. See? Y'all have to understand how. So when you look at it and read these scriptures, you'll understand, okay, that brother was sent in the earth to do exactly what he did. And don't hit me with that, well, he was Muslim, he was this. Folks, me and Elder Lawyer standing before you right now, we were pagan Christians. Malcolm was on a journey. And when he was about to pivot off of that Islam stuff, they got rid of him. And in his last, guess what? And in his last speeches, he told people out there unapologetically out of the Bible that we are the valley of the dry bones written of in Ezekiel 37. Quote unquote. He knew he was Israel before he passed over. Come on, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Ecclesiastes 12 and 7.
Read.
Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it.
And the spirit shall return to God who gave it. Everyone who passed over sees the God who made them. Everyone. And that's why even though we upset or we begin to mourn when we lose our loved ones. Why? Because when we can no longer behold their smile and embrace them. It comforts us knowing on the other side that they're with the God we serve. The God who sent him for a purpose. A God who may have taken our brother or our sister, our mother or our family, all of a sudden without explanation. And then it gives me some level of calm knowing he took his own son, the first spirit, the first begotten of the Father, who didn't live to see 35 years of age. He did this to his own son. But then we can begin to look on his life to see how much he was able to accomplish in such a little time, to only realize Christ isn't dead. He lives. And the same when it comes to our loved ones. And it's same as it comes with our brothers and our sisters, or the brother who have passed, who's a fallen soldier. He's in good shape. Why? Because in the twinkling of an eye, he's coming back for war and will stand with his brother, stand with his family, and live on earth again. And I'm going to prove it. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, Elder Lawyer. 15 and 35. 1 Corinthians in the New Testament.
Yes, sir.
First Corinthians 15, and let's start at 35.
Yes, sir. 1 Corinthians 15 and 35. And if they will learn anything, let them, Slakia. That's 14.
It's okay, let's go.
15 and 35.
Yes.
But some man will say, how are the dead raised up?
Some men will say, how are the dead raised up? How does the Most High perform this phenomenon? And see, this is why Christ had to be a testimony amongst his disciples to prove that death really have no victory. It's temporal. And folks, Christ's resurrection just wasn't recorded in the Bible. It was recorded in the annals of Rome. The great superstition that after they killed the Christian, people begin to raise from the dead. It was called amongst the Roman Empire the great superstition. Look it up. This is not written in just the Bible. There was darkness in Rome for 3 days after this. 3 days and 3 nights there was darkness in Rome. And it led to the death of Pilate for allowing his people to give up the righteous. This is why Christ, after death, came before his disciples to say, look, guess what? The angel of death brought death into the earth through Adam. But the curse is undone. You have victory in life after this, and I'm going to show you that you can live after this so that what? The devil cannot put you in fear of death. Do my work, disciples, you'll live forever. Now imagine that, the confidence that comes with now the Roman Empire cannot now threaten you with death, cannot threaten you with torture, cannot threaten you with what can happen to your body, because now you're looking at a man that you've seen dead on a crucifix a few days prior. Walking and talking amongst you, eating, and you know they were tripping out looking at him eating and drinking next to him. Even Philip. Have you not been so long with me, Philip? I told you I was coming back. The Romans want us to remember Christ dead. That's why they show that dilapidated white man on a cross. Folks, Christ did the work and showed what? Victory over death. And he told Philip, listen, Put your finger in my hand where the nails were. Go ahead. There's something well beyond this realm. Stop being scared of Satan's servants, his agents, his corporations. What are you afraid for? Don't you know a judgment is coming for them? Don't let them trick you into relegating your power. I gave you the power as the children of Israel. Do the work and proclaim your kingdom. Do your work, Israel, and proclaim your kingdom. And especially you so-called Christians who are afraid of everything. Where's your strength? Where's your faith? Let's read it. Come on, Corinthians. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. 1 Corinthians 15 and 35.
Come on.
But some man will say, how are the dead raised?
Some men will ask, well, how is the dead raised?
And with what body do they come?
And what body do they come? See? Because you had a lot of different philosophical arguments during Christ's time concerning the resurrection. You had Sadducees who believed in reincarnation. So they was asking them, so what body are they going to come in? Right? If they came in separate lives, are they going to come in the old body, the new body, the body they died with? So the Bible begins to answer those questions, right? Reincarnation is a bunch of garbage. It came from Babylon. Do your research. And I don't have to say that. Christ didn't come into no earth no 5 or 6 times. He wasn't Melchizedek, another lie. He wasn't Adam, another lie. It tells us in Hebrews, it's appointed unto a man once to die. Let's read it, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
See, we can chop that garbage down with one scripture.
Hebrews 9 and 27.
Read it. Hebrews 9 and 27.
And as it is appointed unto men once to die.
How many times?
Once to die.
I came many times.
Once to die.
3rd or 4th generation.
Once to die.
Straight garbage. The Bible don't talk about no reincarnation in the 3rd or 4th generation. It's saying if you sin, your children will suffer up to the 3rd or 4th generation. It's not talking about you coming back. These people are ridiculous with some of the doctrine. And it is a shame that our people are on such a level that we'll hear this garbage and believe this garbage. There's no such thing as reincarnation in a 3rd or 4th generation. There ain't no scripture that say that. Read it again.
And as it is appointed unto men once to die.
How many times?
Once to die.
Twice.
Once to die.
What?
Once to die.
Once to die. You got these people out there talking about Christ came back 5 separate times. That he was Isaac. That he was Solomon. He was Adam and Melchizedek. Simple out of their minds. Well, doesn't it say the son of Abraham? Well, who's the son of Abraham? Isaac. What? It was talking about through bloodline, genealogy. It wasn't speaking of the literal son of Abraham. Read.
And as it is appointed unto men once to die.
Once to die.
But after this, the judgment.
But after this, the judgment. Period. We have one shot at this. You wasn't somebody before, and you're not going to be someone else in the future. You have one shot. Believe what you want. But the Bible tells you, you only die once. Now, let's go back. Then they try to switch it up with their word game, saying that regeneration is regeneration. We saying it wrong. We saying reincarnation. It should be regeneration. No, you can't repackage reincarnation as regeneration. Regeneration is the same person whose body went to the dirt being materialized into its glorified form. That's what because to regenerate something is to regenerate what was, what went into the ground. Let's go.
Yes, sir. 1 Corinthians 15:35. But some man will say, how are the dead raised? And with what body do they come?
And what body do they come? Read.
Thou fool! That which thou sowest is not quickened except it die.
That what?
That which is, thou fool! That which thou sowest is not quickened except it die.
Read that again, chapter and verse.
1 Corinthians 15:36.
Read.
Thou fool!
And then Paul called them outright fools. You fool. Read.
That which thou sowest is not quickened except it die.
Thou that thou sowest is not quickened unless it dies. So it's saying when you go back to the ground, the Most High will bring forth that same body. It will be quickened like Christ's body. See? See, because over there, when you go into the bosom of Abraham, guess what, folks? You have access to that free flowing water, that gulf in between, and on the and right there is the tree of life right there in the realm they call death. But it's life on one side and death on the other side, and I'm going to prove it. So you must be quickened, because once you get to the other side, you realize everything in its totality. You realize the God who sent you in the earth through your mother's womb and your father's seed. Your whole life that was recorded goes before you. And then you are taken by the angels into habitations of rest. And you behold everything you've read concerning that fountain, that's right, and the tree of life, and the future of you living eternal on earth. Heaven is coming to earth, and hell will be emptied. All souls will be before judgment. And folks, it's all going to happen right here in this realm. In this realm is where it's going to happen. Heaven is coming here. All souls will be before the judgment. Right here on earth, folks. And guess what? Even those who had an opportunity and ignored it or scorned it, who are on the other side, folks, they're going to see everything too, but in torment. They're going to see it all. They're going to know the God who sent them, see their whole life choices, and also mourn in their conscience when they behold the God who made them, the fountain, and the tree of life that they cannot partake of. And there's no hope of the resurrection. There's no hope of the resurrection. And guess what, folks? In the bosom of Abraham, they're in full power, glorified. And in the twinkling of an eye, they'll be in that army, Christ's army, on the way back for vengeance. I'm going to prove that. But guess what? You cannot be a part of this army if you're not courageous, if you cower under the corporations. Christ is not bringing back cowards. Okay? Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. 37. In that which thou sowest not that body that shall be, but bear grain, it may chance of wheat or of some other grain. But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body.
Come on.
All flesh is not the same flesh.
All the flesh are not the same flesh. Read.
But there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds.
Come on.
There are also celestial bodies.
There's also celestial bodies. Read.
And bodies terrestrial.
You have celestial bodies, which are angelic bodies. And then there's terrestrial bodies. Bodies like man, woman, that was meant to live on earth. mortal bodies. Read.
There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Come on.
There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differeth from another star in glory.
Come on.
So also is the resurrection of the dead.
And so also is the resurrection of the dead. Read.
It is sown in corruption.
It is sown in corruption. The body may what? The body may begin to dematerialize and all that. But that's what man sees. You see the decomposition of the body and the bones and all that. I'm like, oh, but that's not what the Most High sees. See? He know that one day that same material will be glorified before the earth as a testament of our God having victory over death through his son. So that example of Christ rising from the grave just wasn't his example. It was the example for those who believe on him and to show forth that belief by not fearing death. And not falling to the games when the enemy try to scare you into fearing it. See? Well, suppose you get sick. Well, do you got this? Well, suppose that. And all that is a psych job that's being played on you, which is relegating your power and your belief and faith in the true God. When you can do all the things you want to do to try to stave off sickness or whatever the case is, and the Most High will come in and call you for his purpose anyway, regardless of the precautions we've put in place. His thoughts are not our thoughts, neither his ways are our ways. Sometimes untimely deaths and all that is actually a part of the work that the Most High had in that person he took. Just like he took Christ. That's a testament, especially if you've lived a pious life, a righteous life, doing the work. Even in your death, it'll draw more people to him to serve the living God. So sometimes the Most High does it that way. He'll do an untimely death like he did with his own son, knowing that it will only lead more people who've walked away from him, back into the path. Because he know the one he took is with him, that he's fine. That this one soul will be glorified. The Most High isn't worried about that soul at all. That soul, that man have accomplished his work. How many people in this earth can say they came to the earth and did exactly what God ordained in them? He's like, y'all worried about this man. You don't got to worry. I got him. Now, look at his example and follow it to be where he is. In the bosom, protected by the God who sent him. How many people in this earth can actually say that they have actually worked personally for the God who sent them to do a work? So we must mourn for the living, folks. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 42. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption.
It is raised in incorruption. Read.
It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory.
Come on.
It is sown in weakness.
It is sown in weakness.
It is raised in power.
It is raised in power. Read.
It is sown in a natural body.
It is sown in a natural body.
It is raised in a spiritual body.
It is raised a spiritual body. Read.
There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body.
Come on.
And so it is written, the first man Adam was made a living soul.
The first man Adam was made a living soul out of the dust of the ground. Read.
And the last Adam was made a quickening spirit.
But the last Adam who came to recreate and undo the sin that came with Adam and Eve, death, was what?
Made a quickening spirit.
Made a quickening spirit. His example, walking on earth after 3 days after being in Hades, hell, folks, was an example that Christ, as the example, has the curse of death was undone. Now he's teaching men how to overcome the death that came from Adam and Eve's mistakes. Here it is now. The new Father is here to give life everlasting. The first Adam led to death through his decisions for disobedience. It materialized a spirit that would do what? Take down man's life expectancy. But what if, through the belief of that Son, you begin to work on this earth for life everlasting? What happens? Read.
Verse 45, and so it is written, the first man Adam was made a living soul, and the last Adam was made a quickening spirit.
A quickening spirit, read.
Howbeit, that was not the first, or that was not first, which is spiritual, but that which is natural.
Come on.
And afterwards that which is spiritual.
Come on.
The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven.
Come on.
As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy.
Come on.
And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
Because when you just deal in the earth, you're under the programming of the earth, and you make choices as such. But when you know you're being led by the heavenly, the lower realm have no power over you. You think Christ feared death? He knew that through his death, his work would multiply. And that's what our people have to get out of, especially in these neighborhoods. Making all of your decisions based off of the negative. You put yourself in a spiritual prison by doing so. No other people think like that. Your fear of making decisions because automatically it's what can go wrong. You fear to say something that's right in fear of what may go wrong. Or the enemy doing something to you. Well, guess what? You're silent and they're killing you anyway. People talking about Kanye, man. Kanye, man, I'm going to tell you, man, if you say something, I'm going to tell you right now, man, you're going to lose everything. Look at your neighborhoods. The last couple of years under the so-called cough, how many of our people have died? We're dying anyway. We're being regenerified anyway. So us not saying nothing and not standing up isn't stopping them from still destroying us. Where's your courage? And I'm talking about predominantly from you so-called Christians. Read it.
Verse 47, the first man of the earth is earthy, the second man is the Lord from heaven.
Come on.
As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy, and as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
Come on.
And as we have borne the image of the earthy,
we've borne the image of the earthy,
we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
We shall bear the image of the heavenly. We will have access to the tree of life. We will be changed. Okay. This time and space and earth is just passing through. We're under, guess what? We're living prophecy in this earth right now, speaking against the injustice of the earth. And all throughout the empires, the Most High had prophets. When you read the Old Testament, it doesn't matter what empire, whether it be Babylonian, the Persians, the Greek, Romans, doesn't matter. There were always prophets chronicalizing and speaking against the injustice that was happening in the earth by Gentiles against Israelites. And we are living in the last days. We're living in the last days, and it's no different. The mark of the beast, a cashless society. Everything you see right now that was shown to John on the Isle of Patmos is prophetically in place right now, and we're here to speak about it. But after this, that's right, there will be a war a war, a battle of Armageddon against the heavenly angels and the angels who have fallen in this earth. And that will be the war that brings heaven to earth. You can think what you want, say what you want, but I'm telling you, that's where we are. And in the midst of this war, we'll see the loved ones that we thought were dead swinging, wielding swords. The people we thought was dead, you're gonna look up and go, yo, and they're gonna be like, listen, he gonna tell you, listen, you do what you're supposed to do. I've been waiting for this moment. I'm here with you, with Christ in front of us. He says, man, I'm not dead. In a twinkling of an eye, I went to sleep for a moment and I woke up and I was in the war with you. I skipped to the future. In twinkling of an eye, I went to sleep, and when I woke up, we were ripping shop. The dead is not subject to time and space, folks. When they wake up in this war, it's going to be like they just fell asleep. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Verse number 50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold.
So we must lay down these fleshly bodies to receive the glorified body. When we were baptized, the Most High gave us a spirit that would lead into a spiritual metamorphosis, to give us the body originally appointed to us before we were in our mother's womb. Inside out now. We're going to become the celestial beings, the powerful. We were celestial before the Most High gave us a mortal body. See? Come on.
51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep.
I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep.
But we shall all be changed.
But we shall all be changed, which means there'll be some brothers and sisters who are still living and will get their change. There'll be some of our loved ones who are asleep, who we mourn and miss. I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. See? Read on.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye.
In a twinkling of an eye. That's the time that what? The last trump. They closed their eyes and went to sleep, and we thought that they were sitting there all that time, just sitting there, just waiting. And no, they're out of time. They're not in this realm. They're in profound quiet, and then they're going to look up. Hell is empty, and they're in the war. Twinkling of an eye, read.
For the trumpet shall sound, or at the last trump.
At the last trump.
For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
The dead shall be raised incorruptible. And the same materials that went into the ground will be regenerated, but now glorified. Without blemish, like Christ was upon his resurrection. Without blemish. When I say without blemish, of course, when he showed himself to the disciples, he says, look at my hands and all that. But don't forget, when the women seen him, he said, do not touch me, for I have not ascended unto the Father. That's the form that we'll be in. I have not yet ascended unto my Father. Nothing of this earth can touch me right now. It will taint my glory. Do not touch me, for I have not yet ascended unto the Father. See? Given a whole new adage, a whole new frame of, that's right, too, can't touch this. You can't touch me. I haven't yet ascended to the Father, fully glorified, unrecognizable. Read.
It says, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump,
At the last trump.
for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead in Christ, or the dead, shall be raised incorruptible.
And the dead, those we love who have worked in this truth, who have worked for Christ, will be raised what?
Incorruptible.
Incorruptible. Read.
And we shall be changed.
And we shall be changed. Now the Most High have seen this metamorphosis of us from the beginning. He sent us from the celestial realm into our mother's womb, where we became terrestrial. But all in all, there will be another change. From the fleshly Adam, that's right, folks, to the celestial Adam. And you notice, I'm gonna tell you, right now they subliminally attacking our people, knowing that we know now through the movies and all that, downplaying the power of the black man, knowing that at the very end that Israelite man would come to the forefront. And now the only representation we can get publicly through media and all that is effeminate or some type of killer or some type of negative type of person. And now they got a movie called Black Adam out. Knowing that for years we were telling people, according to the Bible, Adam was a black man. Only for them to make fun of it. That's right. To show the first superhero that started off as another gender. No. We're showing you the real superhero in the Bible, that resurrection. Those in Christ who come back to battle evil. What we're reading is the true heroes. Right? You notice how they use all the words, knowing that we were talking about on the street, yeah, Adam was a black man. Oh, let's make fun of that too. Black Adam. A transgendered superhero. But I digress. Let's finish reading.
Yes, sir. 53. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality.
This mortal shall put on immortality. Read.
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
Death is what?
Death is swallowed up in victory.
Death is swallowed up in victory.
O death.
O death.
Where is thy sting?
Where is thy sting? What's up, death? I thought that Satan would use death to put us under subjection. Well, at this point, we'll realize that death was a curse that came through disobedience. Those who believe will very well accept the death if it means standing for dying for something right, knowing that at the end we'll receive life everlasting. How many of our people die every day for nothing at all? That'll never be remembered. So at the end of it, it says, death, where is your victory? Okay? You can shut these people up in fear of what might happen to them. Okay? You couldn't bribe these people into siding with the devil against their own people. Because they understood, that's right, the true reward that happens even after death. Everything will be given back to its rightful owners, the children of Israel. See? Finish reading.
O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory?
So, grave, what happens when one go into the grave? Okay. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. We'll conclude that, and then I have another announcement. Hit the like button. Part 2 is going to be a short segment. Victory through life and death. Hold on. We'll be right back. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited. All right. That's right. Real quick to make an announcement. We are taking enrollments for the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Like I said, we want to break the numbers that we've had prior in the academies. Make sure if you've been blessed with these lessons and you want to build on what you're hearing here, please go to historytimes.org and help us accomplish breaking the numbers as far as in the academy when it comes to enrollments. All right. We need more people in because with the finances, we have to accumulate some finances, some resources that we can utilize and turn it into something tangible as we grow this work, as they begin to switch things up to make it hard for us to obtain certain resources for our people in the future. So go into the Hebrew and Bible Academy, enroll others, have them come. Let's break the numbers and show that we appreciate this academy above these theologian schools who have programmed our people to actually teach lies in these communities. I need y'all to support this, okay? This is how you support this work. Go to historytimes.org. Real quick. Thank you, other lawyer. Now, of course, we're going into tomorrow, Egypt. That's right, Egypt. The truth about Egypt, folks. Color and the Bible and our time in Egypt before Israelites became a nation. Tomorrow. A lot of mysteries. And we're going to go more so into the true Pharaoh in more detail. Who was the Pharaoh during the time of the Israelites in Egypt? Well, folks, it wasn't Ramesses. That's a lie. There's nowhere in the Bible that tell you that King Ramesses was the king during that time. There was a city called Ramesses and Pithom. But guess what? Those particular cities came later. That's just a geography. It had nothing to do with the king that was in place during the time of the Egyptians. So I'm going to be going into that and more in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Please get in. And we're going to show you how the Catholics and others purposely created an ideology or doctrine to make black people, the children of Israel, believe that they are from the seed of Ham. That was a calculated evil from the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church and the European churches to paint us under the curse of Ham instead of telling our people the truth. That the curses we're suffering has nothing to do with the Canaanites or the cursed seed of Ham, and everything to do with us being under a curse as Israelites for breaking the law. A matter of fact, the Canaanite blood is mixed with the modern day European who's in power today. They are part Canaanite. So I'm going to go into that and more in the Hebrew Bible Academy, and we have a lot to go into. I'll be teaching for week 12, the secrets of the times. According to the older calendars, when it comes to time, how close are we to the last years? And I'm going to show some calendars to show people in specific, which, that shows the roundabout time we're really in, opposed to the lie of 2022. That will be week 12. We're under the Gregorian calendar, which is a bold-faced lie. We're not in 2022. We're not even in the year 1800 according to God's calendar. They lied about everything, folks, even the time we're in. I'm going to go into that, how they switch calendars around and all of that, and the year we're really in according to some of the older calendars. That and more, week 12. Now, you don't have to worry about it, folks. I know a lot of you saying, well, will you cover some of this in the next academy? The answer is yes. All right. So enroll, help us out. If you already enrolled, don't worry about it. You know that no lessons are the same. Enroll again. Tell others. We want to break the records of this Hebrew Bible Academy in number. And I believe that we have enough people who we have helped in this knowledge and this doctrine who can actually come in and help us fulfill this request. It doesn't cost much based on all of the information that and the research and the study that's put in for these classes, okay? The theologian schools aren't going to tell you. So let's jump into it, Elder Lawyer. Resurrection, the grave.
Yes, sir.
Let's now go directly to, real quick, Revelation 20. Revelation 20. And let's start at 20 and 4.
Revelation 20 and 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of YASHAYA, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast.
And that have not worshipped the beast, they stood in righteousness, even unto death. Read.
Neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands.
So they didn't get the mark of the beast. When the caste of society came around, they chose rather to go against it. Even if it meant them being put out. Even if it meant them not being able to access the quality of life in Satan's world. Read.
And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
And they lived and reigned with Christ. Here's the future. 1,000 years. Now, after the 1,000 years, something else happens. After the 1,000 years, we become all in all, and there's another chapter. But ears have not heard, eyes have not seen what is prepared for us after the 1,000 years. But I can tell you what's going to happen up until that time. It's all in the Word of God. Read.
Verse 5. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. Read.
This is the first resurrection.
This is the first resurrection. The first resurrection is the righteous from the bosom of Abraham who has victory over death, living again on earth for 1,000 years, ruling over the Gentile nations through Christ. Right? So what happens? Read it again.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
This is the first resurrection. Read.
Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection.
So we are to make it in the first resurrection. See? The disciples, those who died in Christ, our loved ones who have worked in the ministry, who have done right on earth. We are to make it through the first resurrection. Now we have that victory over death Paul was talking about in Corinthians. Read.
On such the second death hath no power.
On such the second death have no power. What's the second death? Well, those that are in Hades, that's in torment, the fallen angels and those who followed them on earth, atheists, unbelievers, Satanists, evildoers, those like the conscious community, they will be rotten in hell until the final judgment. That's right. The second death is when after the 1,000 years, all of the souls, where the earth and the sea will give up all the souls who didn't make it in the first resurrection. Let's go there where it says the sea gave up their dead. After the 1,000 years, what happens?
Yes, sir. Jumping down to verse.
Just go straight down where it says the sea gave up her dead.
Yes, sir. Verse number 11.
Read. And another thing, those who know they're Israel in Christ isn't a part of the conscious community. Let me make it clear. The conscious community are filled with confused Satanists, atheists, evildoers. Okay, they're the cancer of our community. All over the place with different ideologies and religion, and the only thing they have in common is claiming they're black. And I would never give any of those platforms any credibility by actually being amongst them. Christ's work is above that evil blot on our community. Okay? Straight out. There's no way an Israelites should be a part of some satanic conscious community and give their platforms any level of credibility. Let's read it. Come on.
Revelation 20 and 11.
Read it.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open.
And the books were open.
And another book was open.
And another book was open.
Which the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works.
Here's the second death. Read it.
Verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it.
And the sea gave up her dead which were in it. These were those who died in shipwrecks and all that. And that was in hell because they didn't make it through the first resurrection. Read.
And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them.
Now hell is totally empty. Speaking of the fallen angels and all those who have followed them throughout the generations of the earth are now standing in the form they were in death. That's right. It's like the living dead at the very end before the throne for those who didn't believe. Read.
And
like the walking dead. Read.
And they were judged, every man according to their works.
Come on.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire.
There's no more hell now. Death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Even the spirit of the false prophet that goes from the priest of Babylon, and it moves from one priest to the next, all the way to your current pope. That's the spirit of the false prophet. It moves from Babylonian priests, and it moved all the way to the Edomite priesthood. That's right, the papacy, the spirit of Antichrist. The spirit of false prophet moves from one pope to the next. Read.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
This is the second death. Read.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life.
And who didn't follow and do their righteous act on earth when called by God. They were what?
Was cast into the lake of fire.
Was cast in the lake of fire. So what happens at the end? Real quick. Well, when you go into the grave, that's just the beginning. After the course of life. What happens? Well, in your annotated apocrypha, there's 70 scriptures that tells us what exactly happens when the spirit leaves the body. First of all, Elder Lawyer, I need you to go to the apocrypha and read the 70. Okay, I got it. Yeah, okay. Let me put this here. I need you to go, Elder Lawyer, and read in Esdras where the Most High told Esdras to hide the 70 of what happens after death, where the spirit leaves the body. Folks, when the spirit leaves the body, or this realm we called earth, you are 100% conscious. 100%. Okay? You can see yourself in all that. 100% conscious. Okay? So that's just the beginning. Now you're going to the next stage in life. See, life doesn't end with death on earth. Life began in the beginning when the Most High made all the spirits and all that within 6 days. There was no new spirits being created after the 6th day. We were just waiting our turn for life on earth. And then there's life after death. Let's read it.
2nd Ezra 14 and 42.
Read it.
The highest gave understanding unto the 5 men, and they wrote the wonderful visions of the night that were told, which they knew not. And they sat 40 days, and they wrote in the day, and at night they ate bread.
Come on.
As for me, I spake in the day, and I held not my tongue by night. In 40 days they wrote 204 books. And it came to pass, when 40 days were fulfilled, that the highest spake, saying, the first that thou hast written, publish openly, that the worthy and unworthy may read it.
So this is what we're reading in the Apocrypha, the information the Most High told the righteous, the elders, to proclaim openly. Read.
But keep the 70 last.
Keep the what?
But keep the 70 last.
Keep the 70 last.
That thou mayest deliver them only to such as be wise among the people.
For you can deliver them at the last, in the last days, for those who would be wise before the people. See? So we know there's 70 scriptures that are missing from the book of Esdras. And guess what? They were found. When it comes to the records of the Qumran caves and all the information where the Most High said the earth will help the woman, well, folks, they found it in the 70. And guess what? Cambridge University and Oxford University printed the 70 that were found that was hid by Esdras. What was in the 70 that the Most High said that he would give to the wise to teach in the last days? Exactly what happens when the spirit leaves the body. If you never heard it for the first time, you ever heard it again, you'll know exactly what happens after death on earth. Therefore, there's no need to fear it. Because you're only passing from this life into a new life. This is what Christians come to you and say, do you want to be born again and have everlasting life? But they never break down what that means and what that entails. Because what that entails also is that by standing for what's right, you may have to face physical death and start your life on the other side of this one. And then only to come back to finish it. See? Let's read it. 70.
2nd Ezra 7, verse 70. He answered me and said, when the Most High made the world and Adam and all who have come from him, he first prepared the judgment and the things that pertain to the judgment.
He prepared the judgment of the earth first, folks. Even before Adam. So that means the place that souls will be held in this earth was prepared. The place that he would do the resurrection from, or the place he would do the second death and final judgment from for those who didn't follow truth and righteousness. Come on.
71. But now understand from your own words, for you have said that the mind grows with us. For this reason, therefore, those who live on earth shall be tormented, because though they had understanding, they committed iniquity. And though they received the commandments, they did not keep them. And though they obtained the law, they dealt unfaithfully with what they received.
Come on.
What then will they have to say in the judgment? Or how will they answer in the last times? How long the Most High has been patient with those who inhabit the world, and not for their sake, but because of the times that thou hast foreordained.
Come on.
I answered and said, If I have found favor in your sight, O Lord, show this also to your servant, whether after death, as soon as every one of us yields up the soul, we shall be kept in rest until those times come when you will renew the creation.
What will happen after death is what Ezra is asking the Most High. What happens? Read.
Or whether we shall be tormented at once.
Or should we be tormented at once? What happens after death? Read.
76. He answered me and said, I will show you that also, but do not include yourself with those who have shown scorn, or number yourself among those who are tormented.
He says, Ezra, I'm going to show you what's going to happen after death. But do not number yourself or be afraid of what I'm going to show you concerning those who didn't listen. Okay? Don't be afraid of what I'm going to show you, because you're not counted with those who I'll judge in the final judgment. Read.
77. For you have a treasure of works stored up with the Most High.
He says, because you have a treasure of work stored up with the Most High. In earth, when you were faced with the choice to serve me or serve the world, you chose to help my people. So you're not written with those who have rejected the word, rejected the Bible, rejected the laws. Don't worry about it. You did your service on earth, Edris. And if you die today, you're protected. You're in good shape. Imagine being told that by the Almighty, that you did the work that was called, that you were called to do. Many are called, brothers and sisters, but very few are chosen. See? And even Christ, he told his disciples, he told them right out, anyone pick up the plow, any of you pick up the plow and put it down, you're not worthy of my kingdom. What you've been called to do, you must do unto death. You're not worthy. And that's why I must commend, salute, and even with the brother Dwayne who's passed over, you know what? When we put the brother in the ground knowing that he's safe with the Almighty, we're going to toast that a man was called to do a work and passed over while doing it. What a victory. What a man to be honored, who through adversity and through all the things that might happen in the earth, at the very end, he was found working. And that's better than an able body who know the truth and walk away from it. That's greater than an able body. Someone who died in the truth, who died believing and never flinched. Let's read it.
77. For you have a treasure of works stored up with the Most High.
Someone asked, see, y'all got to get in this academy. I got more records like this, but this is the annotated Cambridge annotated Apocrypha, where when they found the 70 scriptures that was found in the Qumran caves, they printed it where it should have been in the book of Esdras. Oxford University printed this, and so did Cambridge. So they know what we're saying are true and aren't telling people in the Christian church. Look at this nonsense they teaching in their universities. This liberal activist garbage, when they really got the information on how to free our people and what really happens. But I digress. Let's go.
For you have a treasure of works stored up with the Most High, but it will not be shown to you until the last time.
Come on.
Now concerning death, the teaching is.
Here's the teaching concerning death.
When the decisive decree has gone out from the Most High that a person shall die, as the spirit leaves the body to return again to him who gave it, first of all, it adores the glory of the Most High.
First of all, it adores the glory of the Most High. Now, remember I showed y'all in the beginning that in the beginning, the Most High sends the spirit into the earth? Well, that's the first spirit one sees upon returning to the celestial side after death. They behold that light. That light is the Most High. That's the first thing they see. Read.
79. If it is one of those who have shown scorn and have not kept the way of the Most High, who have despised his law and hated those who fear God, such spirit shall not enter into habitation.
Such spirit, people who rejected the truth, like the evil conscious community and atheists and evildoers, Egyptologists and straight buffoonery, they're dragged directly into Hades to meet the gods they serve. Azazel, which is Osiris, is an angel that was thrust into hell and is in chains right now. Anubis and all these different fallen spirits, they get to see the gods they serve in torment. Read.
If it is one of those who have shown scorn and have not kept the way of the Most High, who have despised his law and hated those who fear God, such spirits shall not enter into habitations, but shall immediately wander about in torments, always grieving and sad in 7 ways.
So their conscience is fully alive. So they'll be sad 7 ways after death. What 7 ways, Elder Lawyer?
Yes, sir. 81. The first way, because they have scorned the law of the Most High.
Because they rejected the law when the Bible was presented on earth. Even Christians running around who saying the law is done away with. Well, I'm not under the law. Okay, you're going to be under hell. Okay, because the Most High gave law to do what? So that you can easily discern good from what's evil. That's what the law was given for. It's a dividing line to show you, to actually highlight the immoral when you measure the immoral against the moral. You can't muddy the waters by saying that, well, I'm under Christ, but I'm not under the law. What is that? You have to have a clear position on what's moral and what's immoral, what's clean or what's unclean, against what's unclean. That's what the law was given for. So when you say, well, I'm not under the law, that means I'm going to do what the Hades I want to do and Christ is going to excuse it. That's what they're teaching. Well, guess what? God said he got something for you. You're really stating that you're under grace because what? You know the law, but don't want to change and trying to use Christ to cover that. Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to plead your cause once your spirit goes over to the other side. Because the angels, the Most High is going to show you. These guys try to give you the law and you said you wasn't under it. Well, guess what? That same law is what I'm going to judge you by. Because you had the law to correct your behavior, to correct your immorality. You had the law. It was, and the Most High is going to show you all the opportunities throughout your life where angels and everything try to direct you into the right spot. And that you denied them because you wanted to do what you wanted to do. It had nothing to do with being under grace. You didn't want nobody to tell you you were wrong. And this is where all your intersectional and all these other confusion things, they're going to be all in that party with you, in hell screaming. Read on.
82. The second way, because they cannot now make a good repentance so that they may live.
The second way in their conscience that's tormented is that there's no opportunity to repent once dead. So all of this is going on in their mind. There is no opportunity like I had on earth to walk a righteous path or get baptized and change my life. There's no opportunity there. What's the third way?
The third way, they shall see the reward laid up for those who have trusted the covenants of the Most High.
They'll be able to see that chasm, that gulf fix that Christ showed Lazarus and the rich man, where the rich man denied Lazarus, but on the other side, when they both died, the rich man was in torment, but Lazarus was in profound quiet. They're going to be able to look over and see what they could have gotten by doing what was right on earth when the opportunity presented itself. They're going to see profound quiet on the other side. Water flowing. The tree of life right there. The righteous are all amongst each other. The family connecting with each other on the other side in profound quiet for those who have passed in righteousness. They're able to witness that. When you look at Luke 16, that's what Christ was talking about. Read.
The fourth way, they shall consider the torment laid up for themselves in the last days.
And the only thing they can look forward to is being thrown into the lake of fire. The fourth way is the only life that they can look forward to is the second death. The fire and the heat is right before them, where they'll be thrown into with the God they serve, the angel of death himself, Satan, Samuel, the bull god. Read.
The fifth way, they shall see how the habitation of the others are guarded by angels in profound quiet.
Come on.
The sixth way, they shall see how some of them will cross over into torments.
And the sixth way is that they're seeing the people they knew coming into the torments that they're in now. They can't even warn their family members to do what's right. They're being tormented in their mind like there's people I love up there that's doing what I'm doing and worse. Now they're seeing their family members fall into torments to be tormented like they are. They know they have sons, family they care about, that now they want to warn like, yo, what those people were saying was right. What those Israelites who believe in Christ, what they're saying is true. There's life here. There is no reincarnation. And they can't even warn their family members. Read.
The seventh way, which is worse than all the ways that have been mentioned, because they...
Now here's the seventh way. That what they have to deal in their conscience while waiting for the final judgment. And this is worse than all the other thoughts they'll be having after death in habitation, in hell. Read.
Because they shall utterly waste away in confusion.
They're going to waste away in confusion.
And be consumed with shame, and shall wither with fear at seeing the glory of the Most High, in whose presence they sinned while they were alive.
Look at that. The worst way of all of them is to behold the presence of the Most High, whom they rejected, spoke against, or sinned against. Read.
And in whose presence they are to be judged in the last times.
And in whose presence they are to be judged in the last times. They're sitting there seeing the glory of Christ, who called them to the right side while they were living. They're witnessing his love and his compassion. They're witnessing his glory and how great he is and how loving he is to those on the other side. And they're wondering, how is it while I was living that I rejected this man? There's no, and the tough part about this is, after death, there's no place for repentance. Life is the opportunity. Life is the opportunity. So the seventh way is going to be confusing more so than anything, because they're going to be looking within themselves and they're going to look at this spirit that's loving and say, how could I reject such a loving man? An unselfish man. How could I reject the God who sent him to show me the path? And that way it's going to confuse them more so than anything. There was no reason in this world for me to reject Christ. He did nothing wrong to us. So why did I look so negatively at a man who died for us? He sacrificed his life to give us life everlasting, and I still disrespected him while on earth. And there's not going to be no atheist Christian argument at this time. It's not going to be no battle of wits and who can convince. It's not about convincing, nah. You're before the God who sent you here with a purpose. What about the righteous?
88. Now this is the order of those who have kept the ways of the Most High, when they shall be separated from their mortal body.
And these are the righteous. And this is what I feel good about when our loved ones pass over. Soldiers passed over. This is the part I feel good about, to know what happens with them when they're no longer amongst the saints. I read this and realize, you know what? They're in better position than we are. Not having to fight in this rat race against the evil. What happens to the righteous who did right when called? Read.
During the time that they lived in it, they laboriously served the Most High.
While they were living, day and night they were teaching and serving God, God's people. Read.
And withstood danger every hour, so that they might keep the law of the lawgiver perfectly.
And they know that the system was against those who were keeping the law, and kept it anyway, knowing the threats that were on them and their families for teaching the truth. So, like I said, y'all can say what y'all want to say about Kanye, but y'all don't have nothing to lose. When a man stands knowing he got that much to lose, guess what, folks? The Most High is intervening. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what you think about what he's doing. You know a man who really believed when he put everything on the line and have everything to lose. He's not crazy, folks. Because it says the first thing is what? Read that part again.
Now this is the order of those who have kept the ways of the Most High, when they shall be separated from their mortal body.
Come on.
During the time that they lived in it, they laboriously served the Most High.
Come on.
And withstood danger every hour.
They withstood the danger, knowing the threat of telling people the truth. How can you be before every platform telling people, listen, I'm not anti-Semite, I'm Semite. Knowing that you're going to lose your deals. You're going to lose everything. You're going to lose all your alliances. They're going to sick families after you to sue you to try to take your finances away. All of that. And you're willing to stand knowing there's everything to lose. Y'all better watch. Y'all look what's going on here. Read.
And withstood danger every hour, so that they might keep the law of the lawgiver perfectly.
That they might keep the law of the lawgiver perfectly. Many times on the streets. Folks, I've been on the streets since the early 1990s. Before there was a YouTube. I've been there. I've been there when Muslims, in Muslim territory, 52nd, folks. 52nd and Market, where it's Muslim territory, where the Arabs are running us ragged over there, controlling our community. Threatened by Muslims. Cats pulling out knives and showing knives and guns and all that, saying, you can't be saying that about, you know what's going to happen if you keep speaking ill of Allah in this area. I've been downtown with cats out there saying, man, you can get killed saying something like this. And I was like, brother, look around. We're being killed right now in silence. With you doing nothing. While I might not agree with everything Kanye is talking about and everything he did in his life, you have no idea what the Most High is doing in that man's life. I know one thing. He's not scared. And we're starting to see that the nerds who are controlling these so-called thug rappers are the real thugs that can make you bend the knee. We're starting to see who the real thugs are now. That can make a so-called thug apologize for allowing his brother to tell the truth. Finish reading.
Verse 90. Therefore, this is the teaching concerning them. First of all, they shall see with great joy and glory of him who receives them, for they shall have rest in 7 orders.
So the righteous shall have rest in 7 orders. So here's the conscience of the righteous who are living in the bosom of Abraham before their change. This is what the righteous is thinking continually. Read.
The first order. because they have striven with great effort to overcome the evil thought that was formed with them, so that it might not lead them astray from life into death.
So the first thing they thanked the Most High, they were able to overcome the temptation that came through that malignant root created through Adam and Eve. They were able to overcome their urges to choose right. So the first thing the righteous is going to say, man, there was a lot of temptation out there, but I'm glad I had the law and chose right with it. That's the first thought that would come to the righteous who are smiling in paradise, waiting for their change. Read.
The second order, because they see the perplexity in which the souls of the ungodly wander and the punishment that awaits them.
They're able to look over the chasm and see the punishment that will come to those who didn't listen on the other side. And folks, they're not feeling any sympathy or anything. This is what they're thinking. The Most High is showing us what's in their mind the whole time. They're looking at family members and all that who didn't listen, getting tormented on the other side. And you cannot have no sympathy there. Okay? The only thing they can think upon is what got them on either side of the chasm. They're not sitting there looking at a cousin who didn't listen or an uncle didn't listen and saying, oh my God, I wish they would have listened. That's for us up here. The only thing they can think of is what? That relationship with the Most High, whether they followed him or disobeyed him. Whether they appreciate it or whether or not they regret not getting what they could appreciate. That's the only thoughts that are going on with either side. Read.
The third order, they shall see the witness that he who formed them bears concerning them.
They will see the witness that God had concerning us. Imagine before the throne, sitting there in the bosom of Abraham, amongst the righteous, and your conversation is amongst those you respect as prophets. Isaiah, Jeremiah, the disciples. Well, now you are getting your accommodations amongst the righteous. See, they're saying, well, listen, when now the Most High is saying you did this. And when you was in this situation, I really respected looking down when you was faced with a demon or a Jesuit and you said this or did that. They're bringing all of your interactions where you stood with God to the forefront, where you protected your people and was able to tear down the lies of the enemy. And it's being talked about amongst the righteous right here. Just imagine that. Where you're not bigging up yourself. It's those, the righteous, and the angels are talking about, they were watching what you did, standing in the midst of darkness, tearing down Satan's kingdom, folks, while the angels were actually recording. You're not bigging up yourself. They're talking about what they witnessed in your stance against all evil. Imagine that. You're thinking that and you're sitting there talking. And this is what's going on amongst the righteous bosom of Abraham. And that's why when I look at the twins, I love them. Dwayne, the brother, and we, like I said, we're going to give him a send away like the king of Judah he is, the king of Benjamin. He's still part of Judea. And let me tell you right now, when I read this, it totally gives me confidence that he's smiling. That he's in good case. Read.
It says the fourth order, they shall understand the rest that they now enjoy, being gathered into the chambers and guarded by angels in profound quiet.
In profound quiet.
And the glory waiting for them in the last days.
And the glory waiting for them in the last days. They actually are looking forward to their change to rule on earth. They know what's going to happen in the very near future. A twinkling of an eye, they'll be changed, ruling on earth, where the dead in Christ shall rise first. Read.
The fifth order, they shall rejoice that they have now escaped what is corruptible and shall inherit what is to come.
Look at that. The fifth way that we'll be thinking for those who are righteous, and make it to that side, that we have what?
They rejoice that they have now escaped what is corruptible.
They have escaped that which is corruptible. You know what was corruptible, folks? The body that's in the grave. They have escaped the body that actually restricted them. It's the body that restricts us from what we can really do. That they're actually free from that body. Like, oh, I'm freer than I've ever been. Wait till I get back up there. The corruptible is the body that was shaped through Adam. But now that's in the grave. When we get materialized, that will become what? An eternal glorified body. This is just a shell, folks. This is just a shell. That they've escaped the bodies that were subjected to sicknesses, worry, death, pain. If you cut, you bleed. If you twist your ankle the wrong way, you need crutches. It's like, well, no, I've escaped all of this. I'm free now. Read.
The fifth order, they shall rejoice that they have not escaped what is corruptible and shall inherit what is to come. And besides, they see the straits and toil from which they have been delivered and the spacious liberty that they are to receive and enjoy in immortality.
Woo! Immortality. We will get the original bodies that was promised from the beginning. Folks, we'll be greater than the angels. Greater. Read.
The sixth order, when it is shown them how their face is to shine like the sun.
Look at that. Come on.
And how they are to be made like the light of the stars.
Like they are to be made like the light of the stars.
Being incorruptible from then on.
Being incorruptible from then on. It's going to be a different way of traveling in this earth, folks. It's not going to be just walking. We're going to be able to walk through a gate. If we want to be on this side of the earth, we can be on that side of the earth. We're going to be able to travel just like angels. In a couple of seconds, if you want to be in the parts of Asia or parts of Africa or even parts of the West, wherever you want to be, you can be there in an instant. Regular travel, no plane, no train, none of that. Portal travel. Because this earth has gates all through it that our bodies cannot go through. You must be in the changed form to get through it. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about portals in the academy to show you that these are just doorways that they use all the time, the celestial. And show you how through Freemasonry, they've put up different temples and all types of gates, knowing that there's places where demons and spirits can travel from Egypt, Babylon, from different parts. And guess what? The Grand Master do a ritual and a spirit will come through one of those gates in New York, one of the gates in Philadelphia. They're just doing on a low level what we'll be able to do on a grand level. Now, I know what I said went over a lot of people's head, but those who can understand, he that have an ear, let him hear. When you see those constructs and those gates, those Babylonian gates and all that, and these different constructs in the earth the Freemasons have, that's for straight craft to have spirits come from the other side of the earth into your realm. That's why it says Babylon the Great have become what? A habitation of devils. They can call spirits in. This is how they control the neighborhoods. Okay, but that's a whole nother thing. But finish reading. Come on.
The seventh order, which is greater than all that have been mentioned, because they shall rejoice with boldness, and shall be confident without confusion, and shall be glad without fear, for they press forward to see the face of him whom they serve in life, and from whom they are to receive their reward when glorified.
So here's the one that's most important. Read that part again.
Yes, sir. The seventh order, which is greater than all that have been mentioned, because they shall rejoice with boldness and shall be glad without fear.
Glad without fear.
When they shall see the face of him whom they served in life.
We will see Christ there. The one we served in life will be before us. Read.
From whom they are to receive their reward when glorified.
from whom we are to receive the reward when glorified. We're beholding Christ who will be given the crowns once he take down Rome. We're beholding him. He's talking with us. He's comforting us. And now when you pass over to that side of life, you don't have no time to be thinking about, well, man, I wish I would have stayed there. You're not thinking backward anymore. You're looking forward. You know who's thinking backward? Those who didn't listen. You're not thinking backward anymore. I don't want to go back there. I made it to the right side and I will soon have glory on earth. It's only those who didn't follow who's going to regret being there. So our loved ones who are in Christ, they're not asking to come back here. This is what they have to look forward to. See? Finish reading.
This is the order of the souls of the righteous, as henceforth announced, and the previously mentioned are the ways of the torment of those who would not give heed shall suffer hereafter.
Shall suffer hereafter. So if you want to know what happens after this, and guess what? It gives us comfort to know exactly what happens. Okay? So that even when we lose a loved one and it hurts, we can actually do what? We have to look at it in the framework of the God who made us all. We have to examine it within that framework. That we have to thank the Most High that He gave us an opportunity to interact and know each other. We all came into this earth strangers. And when the Most High called us and will call us while in the work, you left with friends. You left with those who loved you. That is to be commended. That is to be appreciated. And it only makes those who are in Christ who are working, it would only have them to actually resolve what life is and who our loved ones are to us, to have us work even harder, to be where those who stood with us are, with Christ. Last but not least, Philippians, Elder Lloyd, that's ended here. We are to rejoice. 1:18. Philippians 1:18.
All right, Philippians 1:18. What then? Notwithstanding, every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached, and I therein do rejoice, yea, and will rejoice.
Will rejoice, come on.
For I know that this shall turn to my salvation through your prayer and the supply of the Spirit of YASHAYA the Christ.
Read.
According to my earnest expectation and my hope, that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with all boldness as always, so now also Christ shall be magnified in my body.
While I'm living, Christ will be magnified in my body, in boldness. Read.
Whether it be by life or
whether it be by what?
Whether it be by life.
Whether it be by life
or by death.
Or by death. Even if death comes, Christ will be magnified in my work. Understand what the disciples were dropping here, folks. Even when someone is taken, that's still a work being performed by God. Us being selfish and loving, we don't want to actually let any of the saints go. But the Most High have a work in brothers and sisters in this church, in this work. Even when it's death, it's to bring more to His glory. Read.
For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain.
And to die is what?
And to die is gain.
And to die, knowing you did all you could to help God's people, that's gain. Read.
But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor.
But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. See? If I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Read.
Yet what I shall choose, I wot not.
What shall I choose? I would not. Read.
For I am in a strait betwixt two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better.
Come on.
Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. And having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you for your furtherance and joy of faith.
Come on.
That your rejoicing may be more abundant in YASHAYA the Christ, for me by my coming to you again.
Come on.
Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ.
So let your conversation be the gospel of Christ.
That whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel.
Strive together. And the disciples are writing this and saying, listen, whether or not you see me again, finish, and we'll all be together anyway. Last but not least, Thessalonians 4 and 13.
1 Thessalonians 4 and 13.
Come on.
First or second?
Second Thessalonians.
First, okay.
No, 1 Thessalonians 4 and 13.
Yes, sir. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 13.
Read.
And to esteem them very highly in your love for their work's sake, and be at peace among yourselves.
It says, be at what?
Be at peace among yourselves.
Be at peace amongst yourselves. Read.
Now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men.
Be patient amongst all men. Read.
See that none render evil for evil unto any man.
See that none render evil for evil with any man. Read.
But ever follow that which is good, both among yourselves and to all men. Rejoice forevermore, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ YASHAYA concerning you.
You at the 13th verse?
Salakia, that was 5. Salakia.
First Thessalonians 4 and 13.
Yes, sir. 1 Thessalonians 4:13.
Read it.
But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep.
So the Most High would not have us be ignorant, and you shouldn't be ignorant anymore concerning those who are in the truth or our loved ones who pass over. We aren't to be ignorant of this anymore. We know what happens after death. That's why it says, be not ignorant anymore. Read.
That ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope.
Let's not sorrow like the rest of the world who don't know what happens after death. That's what Paul is saying here. You know that the righteous who did the work of Christ on the other side is okay. You know we'll see him again in his glorified body. Read.
For if we believe that YASHAYA died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in YASHAYA will God bring with him.
Come on.
For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep.
We're not going to prevent those who passed over from coming back. They're not coming back through a reincarnation. They're coming back in the resurrection. We can't stop that from happening. They're coming back. Heaven is coming to earth, folks. And soon as the last trump, it's those that are waiting in the bosom of Abraham, like we read in the second Esdras, who will actually be on earth with Christ's army before us. They're already with him. He's bringing them back with him. Read.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first.
That's the first resurrection. That's all those we used to know who did right, living again on earth in a glorified body. Read.
Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds.
Come on.
To meet the Lord in the air.
So our change is meeting them where they are. Read.
And so shall we be ever with the Lord.
And so shall we be forever with Christ, reigning on the earth. Read.
Wherefore comfort one another with these words.
Wherefore comfort one another with these words. That's the comfort. That no longer should we be ignorant about what happens when it comes to death, even if we can't explain it. The Most High has a plan for all of us. And he have a span of time that's appointed to each individual according to his grace. So when the Most High take one of the saints, we are not to be ignorant of this, that he's with the one who's called him in preparation for what? Him coming back to finish what he began in the ministry. Rulership, power. And today, all praises be to the Most High in the name of Christ. We salute our brother Dwayne, the twin, a saint of the Most High God. And I know he's proud of the work that have been done. Thousands and thousands of people have come to the truth because of the twins. If there was any scenario in which I was teaching on the street, they were right there, willing to give their lives that day so that the truth could be spoken and proclaimed. Today, in the name of Christ, we honor our brothers. We pray for the family that are there in the UK, and the brother Blaine, I spoke to him the other day, stronger than ever. And I said, brother, listen, your brother isn't gone anywhere. You're going to see him again. Every time you look in the mirror, he's there. Finish to honor a brother in Christ, your brother who was in the womb, who finished the work until Christ called him back. You're here to represent not just Christ in the body, but him. We're the gathering of Christ Church, and guess what, brothers and sisters? We salute. We salute in love and memory of Christ, Christ's soldier. With that, I'm going to say shalom. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up, stay courageous in the Spirit. And that stay in the Spirit and do this work. It won't be long before we're all together, reigning on earth, because what? The next turn on earth is ours. Stay vigilant. Stay a soldier all the way to Zion. With that, shalom, and we'll see you tomorrow in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Bless you.
To Zion. I was lost, but now I'm found. I'm a child of Israel. I heard the sound. Please give me the strength to stand today. With my eyes towards the east, show me the way to Zion. I'm on my knees, laying my life on the line. I'm begging, please don't let me fall. Give me the strength. Place my feet, Lord, guide my path. Show me the way to Zion. I opened up the book and see that I know